All right, so now we hit 1996. You signed with WCW. Did you reach out to them or did they recruit you?
You know, I love it when somebody says signed, because nobody had contracts back then. Getting a contract was like pulling teeth.
Okay.
I pretty much came aboard. I reached out to them at one point, and I reached out to WCW, and I was in a hotel room in Reno, Nevada, I want to say, and Terry Magnum, PA. I think Terry Allen Magnum, PA. He was
okay.
NWA or it wasn't. It wasn't quite WCW yet. It has not evolved to that.
Right.
He reached out to me and he said, Jim, we got a deal for you. You know, we'll give you. It was either $350 or $500 a week, I think. And I said no. I says I'm doing shows for Vince. Sometimes on one night I can make that. You know, which is exactly the same mindset I had WCW, but which will contradict what I'll say a little bit later on. But no, I reached out initially, and it wasn't WCW. It had to be NWA, I guess.
Yeah, I believe you're correct. NWA.
Yeah, NWA, Magnum TA, Terry Allen, something like that.
Yeah.
I think he got injured real bad on a motorcycle, but, I hope
car
he's
accident,
still
if I'm
with
not mistaken, but nevertheless.
Was it? Yes, you're right. It was a car accident. You're absolutely right. But, no, I reached out to them initially, and I never had a contract. When I was, and I know I'm jumping back to Vince, but that's kind of like, but I never had a contract. To my knowledge, the only people that had contracts and guaranteed money were your top guys, your top five. Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper, Ultimate Warrior. Those kind of guys had something on paper. Guys like myself had nothing on paper. And if you signed a deal, then you were on the top five. At least the top five. You were on the top. You were the top five players for that company, and for me, it was stick my head out the curtain and hope that I'm on a card with either Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair. I don't know if Ric Flair was down in WCW when I got there. He may have jumped ship already, but WCW was when Kevin Sullivan took over. It was just great. He treated me accordingly. He saw he saw the body, the hair, the work, the down to earth wrestling, pro wrestling, headlocks, arm locks, arm bars, this, that, hammerlocks, drop toe holds. He saw the wrestling part of it. Kevin, in the entire 15 years that I had in the wrestling business, Kevin treated me the best out of anybody. And I remember they were doing a convention here for a WrestleMania right where I live in New Jersey. Okay. And I was part of that convention, and I saw Kevin at the other side of the room, and I went over and I leaned into him and kind of hugged him and whispered into his ear and said, Kevin, I just really want to thank you for doing what you did for me while I was there. And I went to give him, I'm Greek, so I went to give him a kiss on the cheek, and he kind of, Jim, no. But Kevin Sullivan treated me very good. Got me a manager. You may want to ask that about Teddy Long. He got me a manager, and Teddy was a legit manager. Teddy wasn't a guy that, okay, well, let's make him the manager tonight. No, Teddy managed my career as far as going to the office, speaking on my defense, speaking for me, speaking on my offense, then wanting to put Bobby Walker and me together, which we did for a little while. But I think when you're a single talent and you just slap two people together, you see how I go off on rants, right?
No problem.
You slap two people together, you kind of dilute both of them. He was Bobby Walker. I was Jim Powers from the WWF and one half of the Young Stallions. And Bobby Walker was by himself down there. I don't know what his position may have been the same position I had when I was with Vince. So Teddy wanted to put a black man together with a white man, and he would go to the office and pitch it, and he finally got it. But when it was just me and Teddy, it was great. And then when they put Bobby and I together, it kind of diluted both of us.
Okay, so you almost don't think the tag team worked when they put you two together?
You're either going to come out as a tag team right away, but when you try to slap a tag team together, in the middle of, like, Bobby had his thing going on, singles. I had my thing going on. I had broken away from the Young Stallions long enough that people didn't give a shit. Excuse me, but didn't give a shit anymore. So it was just Jim Powers. It was Bobby Walker doing our own thing separately. And then when you put us together, when you put us together on TV, something gets lost, as opposed to coming out together like the Road Warriors. They never wrestled separately. They just came onto the picture as the Road Warriors. That's who they were.
Right.
They were a family. They were two. They were one item and two individuals, but they were family. They never pushed themselves. I'm Joe Laurinaitis. I'm Mike Hedstrom. I think his last name was.
Right.
But they were the Road Warriors, and it was like that with Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson. They were the Midnight Express, I believe.
Yeah.
And even Marty and Shawn Michaels, but Shawn Michaels did very well with it, and Shawn Michaels did very well, and I wished I could find where Marty is, but I feel bad for him. But Marty and I were close. But anyway, when you the tag team situation, it was me and Bobby Walker, and then Kevin wanted to do something with what did they call us? The Lions, something where we're walking on the beach. Me, Joe Gomez,
Alex Wright was in that.
Alex Wright, and
Renegade.
Renegade. We get to that later if you want, but
oh yeah.
They put us on the beach, and we're walking down the beach, and we rip our T-shirts off, kind of like for the girls and stuff, and one of those things. It was a little corny, but you did it. They were treating me. They were treating me pretty good. They were treating me better than Vince was. So, and even if they weren't treating me better financially, they were treating me better. Kevin Sullivan was treating me better as a human being, right? Because wrestling money was a byproduct of me and my passion of wrestling. So I always thought that if you have a passion for something, whatever it may be, you have a passion for something, and you can make money at it, well, you'll never work a day in your life. You never will. Mm-hmm. But very once true. It starts, and that's always been my mantra, but I did let it get in my way. So I was down at WCCW for a while. I lasted 1 month. I was living out of a hotel. I was wrestling in rodeo rings, and I'm a city guy from New York. And the money I was $75, $100, maybe $125. But what I didn't realize, and I made a mistake, is I let money get in the way of me honing my craft. And I looked at the checks that I was getting, and I go, shit, they had one big pay-per-view. I wrestled a guy named Brian Diaz or Diaz, I don't know. And we were opening match at a big pay-per-view. There wasn't a seat empty in the whole building, and I got a $600 payday. And now I'm going, well, wait a minute. I says, I can make this on one show in New York,
Sure.
And so I turned tail and came back to New York. And that's where I let money interfere, where I should have stayed. And I should have stayed, honed It would have been a learning experience for me, even though, some of the boys you talk to, they lived out of Volkswagen. I mean, not Volkswagens. They lived out of, what do they call it, station wagons. They ate tuna fish. They ate whatever they could eat. They had, maybe $50 between four guys. It's just, and they shared four to a room. And I always took care of myself on the road, but probably more so than most people would like to. But I figured if I was making whatever I was making, I was going to spend it, because I've never seen a Wells Fargo truck in a funeral procession. Now, if you have, let me know, because
right.
Yeah, but no, WCW was a wonderful experience. I'm sorry it was short-lived. I really am. And on top of that, what had happened was I never really saw eye to eye with Terry Taylor. Somehow, some way, he got the book, or he was the booker. And him and I never saw eye to eye. So after Kevin was out of the booking position, a booking position carried a lot of weight at that time, obviously, the booker.
Sure.
So Terry, because Terry and I had a little bit of a confrontation up in WWF, and he went down to, I don't even know if it was WCW. It was maybe WCW at that time. And he went down there, and they gave him the booking position. And Kevin, I don't know where Kevin kind of ended up after that. But Terry, it's a very political business. It really is, or was, or whatever. And I think I probably told some of my stories on part one when it comes to WWF.
You did.
Now, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just said yes, you did. They were great stories, but yes.
Yeah, no, WCW was not like that. And then it became like that when Terry Taylor couldn't see past his nose, and Kevin took good care of me, and when Terry Taylor got to be the booker, the matches were back to the way they were when I was with Vince, and it didn't give me the what is the word I'm looking for, the incentive to want to go harder, go higher, go faster, do this, do that.
Right.
You know what gave me the incentive? Looking in the damn mirror.
Okay.
Me looking in the mirror and looking and say, who the hell are you? Who the hell are you? And I do it to this day. I'll look in the mirror and I'll stare at myself. And stop feeling sorry for your fucking self. Get the fuck out of this room. Get dressed, brush your fucking teeth, and get out of here. Go out. I have to do that.
Yeah.
Especially in this day and age. The less you do, the less you want to do. The more you do, the more you want to do. So WCW was very good. Teddy Long was. I actually talked to Teddy about 2 months ago, and he's doing well. He's still living in Georgia and everything, and. That's probably a recording or an audio interview with him at a different time. But he was good. WCW was. It was just. I said, "Wow!" Now, if I would have been treated like this in WWF, I would have been there and finished out my career all the way through. But then again, I'm sure I told the WWF stories, which made me kind of cringe a little bit. So that'll be, I'm sure that's in part one. If someone has heard it before, I think you did tell me some people have listened to it. Or
part one has 15,000 views after 3 weeks. So a lot of fans were happy to hear from you. They loved the stories. They were really surprised. So I'm sure.
Yeah, I really do appreciate that, and all those fans. If you're going to put this out there, which I hope you do,
yes.
However you do it or what, I know some guys put it on a disc and sell it for a reasonable amount of money, but anyway, that's not what I'm here about. To talk about money. I'm here to talk about the wrestling, the business, and myself. Business. So, do you have any questions?
Yes. Okay. So you brought up the Rockers. Now we can talk a little bit about Marty Janetty because he was in WCW. Now, do you have an opinion on the disconnect between when Sean went his way and Marty did? And I don't want to say I'm a big Marty Janetty fan. He did still have a good career. He was an Intercontinental champ. He was a tag champ. He won some matches in WCW. can you comment on that split or how his demeanor was in the wrestling business?
From what Marty told me, Sean had meetings, unbeknownst to Marty, had meetings with Vince and Vince's inner circle, and Sean had made a personal, conscious decision to go company. So he told Marty about it. And Marty was a little bit, Sean was more conservative than Marty was, let's put it that way. So Marty continued on the lifestyle and the path he was on, and as well as, I mean, Sean had been on that path, but something, I think it probably was the Bible, hit him in the head, which I understand from Mark, the Undertaker.
Yeah.
He found God, and he was going to go all company and do the right thing, which is wonderful, you know. And he told Marty all about that, and that's why they did the thing where Marty kicked him through the glass. But Marty put a beating on Sean. He shot, you know, he was shooting with him. He beat his ass a few times, and then the next morning you'd see them both sitting next to each other at the airport, you know, with Sean's got a swole up eye and lips and everything, and Marty's just there, you know, kind of thinking, well, shit, I feel like a real ass for doing this to him, but well, he deserved it or whatever, you know. But no, Marty and I were close, and I just think I love him to death, and I just think maturity-wise, he still likes to play. You know, I think one of the last times I saw him, he was up here in New Jersey, and he did an independent show for a guy named Kevin Knight, the Independent Wrestling Federation, and I went to the show to see Marty, and the promoter asked me if I would walk out to the ring and kind of manage Marty, you know, get a little double pop.
Oh, okay.
So, I wasn't going to work. No, so Marty, I mean, even though his injuries and stuff, his ankles, if you saw his ankles, you wouldn't understand or believe how he could even walk, you know, because his ankle bone pretty much touching the ground, you know, on the inner ankle where the bone is, it's touching the ground. He's dragging his ankles. But, I wished I could find it, but no, that was the thing. Sean had gone to Marty and said, listen, I want to let you know, I had meetings with Vince and whomever around him, and I'm going to go company, you know, what they want, I'm going to do what they want, I'm going to do, you know, and this was granted after Sean did his Playgirl thing. I don't know if you heard about that, right?
I did. That I did.
Yeah, I'm sure you did get around this stuff. But, no, and the last time I spoke to Marty, I believe, I know he had come up to New Jersey for a little while. I know he's not here anymore. And he ended up living in somebody's house down the Jersey Shore. They gave him the basement to live in, and, you know, I mean, he told me some horror stories, not horror stories, well, I guess they are, where he had to, I mean, the New Jersey, New York, Connecticut area is pretty good. It's a pretty good independent scene. So he was making his money that way, and he unfortunately had to live in somebody's basement. And when it came to going to the bathroom in the middle of the night, he was using nothing but a Gatorade bottle, you know, and it just kind of like hurt me. But I said, do I offer him a room at my house? And I got my wife here, and I said, I don't know, you know, just. I would have loved to have offered him a room if I wasn't married and everything, but right. I'm going on 20 years being married, but this was a while ago. Marty and I had a lot of fun together. Marty was about fun, wrestling, fun.
In that order.
You know? Yeah, but he was a tough son of a bitch. People don't know it.
Oh yeah.
He beat Sean up quite a bit. I don't know. So there must have been some animosity there between the two of them that probably only he can speak on.
Sure.
But I love Marty. Sean, I last time I saw Sean, I was here. They were here at the arena across from MetLife Stadium, and I had gone there kind of trying to get back in the business, and I ended up sitting in a room with Hunter and Sean, and kind of groveling towards Hunter to get a job back in the wrestling business, and he's a piece of garbage. He really is.
Real quick, Jim. What year was that? Or around what time was that you were meeting with Hunter and all that for a job, possibly?
Oh God, was.
It doesn't have to be exact, just so we know the timetable.
I was before I went to WC. So between 90, early 96, late 95, because I remember, it's funny, I just came across a picture of myself. I had run a show here in my little town of East Rutherford, and it's me sitting there, and I'm trying to figure out whatever happened to that guy. But and that show, we ran that show, me and another gentleman, we ran that show in 1996, March of 96. So it would have had to been between the times I was done with or actually WWF was done with me, which would have been 95-ish, and before I went to WCW, which was 96. Oh, between those few months there.
Got it.
And Hunter just sat there like, his nose up in the air, that big schnoz of his. But and Sean just sat there, and Sean was quiet, and Sean knew what was going on. I was just pissing up a rope, really. Yeah. I borderline felt humiliated, but it was nice to see. I got to see Mike Rotundo, and which was my first match in WCW, but we'll get to that. I got to see Mike Rotundo, Barry Windham, Arn Anderson was there. So some of the guys I had worked with are now behind the scenes. So where was I going to go as far as in the ring goes? Randy Orton was getting ready in the ring for his matches that night. So it was a whole new generation. It kind of like I wasn't aware of.
Okay, so you said they kind of humiliated you. So it was kind of with their nose in the air. Now, when you say humiliated, are we talking like, haha, yeah, right, we're going to give you a job type of thing?
No, they babyfaced it. But it wasn't so much Sean, because Sean and I were close.
Okay.
Not as close.
So it's mostly Triple H, basically.
Hunter was just sat there like stone cold and had a little smirk on his face, and Sean was just, putting on his boots and getting ready and listening to me, and maybe even he made eye contact with me a few times. Maybe he was trying to get a message to me like you're pissing up a rope with this fucking guy. Even though So I tucked my tail between my legs. I hung around the back for a while and went to see the Brooklyn Brawler and stuff like that. But no, it was my transition to WCW. I said, well, WWF, the door is completely closed, and it's time for me to move on. Between that, I had done some independent shows. I ran 3 of them in my area. One was in Hoboken, New Jersey. One was right here in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and the other one, I can't remember. I don't know, but I know we ran 3 shows, and then I said, well, I could keep doing this, but I still have that yearning and that drive and that passion. So that's when I reached out to WCW. I don't remember who I got on the phone. Could it have been J.J. Dillon? It's possible, but they wanted to take a look at me.
Sure.
So I had to drive from East Rutherford here up to Pittsburgh. Now I went up to Pittsburgh, and I had a dark match with Rotundo somewhere, but I think I worked with Mike up in Pittsburgh as well. And I don't know, I think they put me over, I forget who it was. I was like, oh my God, this is a hell of a fucking drive.
Right.
It was about from East Rutherford to the Pittsburgh area. It was, I don't know, 250 miles, 260 miles. But anyway, I had a match. I want to say it was Mike Rotundo, but Yeah, it was Mike Rotundo. It was. They took a look at me. Kevin looked at me and liked what they saw. So they booked me for the next match I had was another dark match down. Actually, it was the day I met my wife. But another dark match was down in Bash at the Beach in 1996. July 8th, 1996. And that was July 8th, 96. And but I worked with Hugh Morris. I think you heard it, Billy.
Yeah.
So I worked with Hugh Morris, and coincidentally, we're talking to each other, and he says, I says, where'd you go to school when you were a kid? Did you wrestle or what? He goes, yeah, I went to Paramus High School in New Jersey. I said, get out of here. I said, I graduated from that school.
Oh.
He goes, oh,
wow.
Yeah, we had graduated from this, gone to the same school and graduated from the same school 10 years apart. So we had a good match. He did his, I don't know, whatever that move is.
No Laughing Matter, moonsault
yeah,
from the top rope.
Yeah, Laughing Matter, but he went to the top rope and kind of flipped like Bam Bam used to.
Yeah, it was a moonsault.
Yeah, the moonsault, yeah. But he did that. I moved, and then I shot him in and gave him the power slam, and that was it. He put me over. So, but it's not a matter of who goes over, it's a matter of what the quality of the match is.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you guys did have some good matches together. So we talked about how it didn't go good with Hunter and Sean when you tried to get back into WWE. So let's talk about their buddies, the NWO. They had the NWO Explosion. I believe you were even on the receiving end of the spray paint job with the NWO on your back. How was it being there when all that craziness happened?
It was through the rafters. And this thing about getting sprayed, I'd love for somebody to show me that match because I can't find it. But if somebody's out there and they're listening and they're going to listen to this down the road, or even yourself, Nick, find that match for me. I'd love to see it. Because
was it outside when they took over? I want to say Kevin Nash threw Rey Mysterio like a dart into the trailer.
Yes, I was there. I was walking around the back, and I see Ray. He's got Ray up on his shoulder, and because we dressed out of trailers, so he shoots Ray in the trailer. I said, "What the fuck?" And then somebody grabbed me and pushed me away because they were filming it. So that was in Orlando on Disney property. Yeah, but that was it. Was WCW was great. It was great until Terry Taylor got a hold of the booking. I was doing good financially as far as I was concerned, and at that point, I had enough funds to have a good time. So when I met my wife, I think I met her that night. I'll have to check the dates, or the following night. We went. We were going to the Caribbean like it was the Jersey Shore. It was. We had a good time because my philosophy is, and I think I said it earlier. What are you saving? Next thing you know, you're 80 years old.
Right.
What are you saving for? I as I get it, I go out with $10, I'll come home with 20.
Okay.
I enjoy it when I could enjoy it.
Okay.
When
Smart.
you're young and when you're young and you've got that money, enjoy it. I just couldn't find the gray area.
Yeah.
There's an old saying: if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space.
Right.
Yeah, I came across a little book that I used to carry around for certain reasons, and I would write these little sayings down, and it was kind of neat to go through them the other day. But it was WCW was the only time, like I said earlier, was that politics got involved and emotions and feelings got involved was when Terry Taylor became the booker and Kevin no longer, for whatever reasons, because Kevin was a strong man. And I'm not talking about lifting weights. I'm talking about strong-willed.
Right.
And what he wanted to do. And apparently he bucked somebody. And he was fine. He had a place in Key West. He had a place up on the northern west coast up there by Oregon or something like that. But anyway, he was okay. Him and Nancy until but but I really enjoyed WCW, and had I not torn my rotator cuffs, and I tore one in September, I tore one in October of 98. I'm sorry, 98, okay. And then that was pretty much it. After that, it was some independent stuff here and there, but and that was it. That was my. And sometimes I feel funny. I said, when people call me and ask me like to do this, what I'm doing here tonight or this afternoon, I said when I retire from wrestling, that's it. But it's almost as along the lines of that movie with Al Pacino, the Scarface #3 or so, where he goes, just when I think I'm out, they bring me back.
You're back in.
Yeah. So.
I want to get into your last match here in a second, but we brought up Kevin Sullivan and Nancy. Can you comment on their relationship or the Benoit thing at all? Are you comfortable with that?
Well, yeah. I mean, and remember to bring up the Renegade thing later. But
that's absolutely that's going to be our off the radar question. Yes, sir.
Yeah. No, that's all right. Kevin Sullivan. Well, rumor has it, or old wives' tale, or whatever you want to call it, that Kevin was not happy with Nancy, and he wanted to create. He booked this, so to speak. He booked this the outcome, not knowing how far it would go. Now, do I have facts on that? No, and I'm not going to speak badly about Kevin. Supposedly, he made Kevin. Kevin made Nancy Benoit's manager, and told them that they have to make it look like they're married. Like Kevin was married to Nancy legitimately, but he wanted Chris and Nancy to act as though they were a married couple, to the degree where they shared rooms. Mm-hmm. That's just that's what I hear through the grapevine. And share rooms, sit next to each other on the plane, eat together, act like a married couple. And I don't know what the outcome was supposed to be, but Kevin was looking to distance himself, whether it be divorce or whatever it was. I don't know for a fact. But supposedly he booked his own divorce, not knowing how far it would go.
Okay, so yeah, I've heard that he booked his own divorce. So you're almost saying he almost wanted to have a divorce? Am I correct, or did I misunderstand what you were saying?
Yeah, I believe he wanted to be apart from Nancy.
Got it, okay.
I believe, you know what? If I don't hear it from the horse's mouth, but enough people say it, there's got to be some validity to it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
If one person tells me, I don't know, anything... I can't think of anything. Right? If one person tells me something, and I go, that's a bunch of bullshit. That's a bunch of bullshit. That's a bunch of bullshit. But if you hear it from 10 people, there's got to be something to it. So, did he want it to go that far? Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. The tragic story. It really is. And not only that, but Chris has got, to my understanding, Chris had 2 other children. He still got them.
Yeah.
They're up in, I think it was Edmonton. He was from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, about 100 miles north of Calgary, something like that, between 50 and 100 miles north of Calgary. And he left his wife for Nancy and left his children. He pretty much did what Dynamite did. Dynamite abandoned his family and went back to Europe. And he was Dynamite Kid.
That was his hero, like he said many times.
Yeah, and he left his wife and 2 kids up in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and as well as Tom did, Tom Dynamite Kid, and he left his wife. And this thing, if you spend some time with somebody, if you spend that kind of time with somebody where you're making it look like it's a shoot, and I'm sure your listeners know what a shoot is.
Yes.
If you spend that much time with somebody, if you're sharing a room with them, whether it be, maybe it's 2 beds, who knows? If you're sharing a room with them, you're always being seen with them, whether you're eating, whether you're at the gym, or if you're at the airport, you're on the sitting next to each other on the plane. If you're doing that, eventually something was going to start to grow. There's going to be some kind of feelings.
Right.
So that's kind of what I think, because I've heard it so many times. That's what I think happened, but it went a little bit too far, unfortunately. Unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely sad.
Very sad. Very sad.
Wow. Yeah.
So, yeah. I sometimes somebody asks me what were some of my better matches, and I'll go, I really hate to say this, but some of my better matches were with Chris Benoit.
Yeah. And I think you can say that you had a great match with him. You don't have to comment on if what happened was terrible, but you can say you had a good match and separate the two, I think.
Yeah. Well, Vince really stepped on his, whatever. He stepped on his manhood the next night when he jumped the gun. He thought he was doing something positive. Mm-hmm. And then the following night he had to retract the whole show.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do not, off the top of my head. You'll have to help me out there.
The night of the tragedy in the Benoit home.
Yes.
The following day was whatever it was, Raw, SmackDown, whatever it was, or maybe they just took over the channel. Vince came out. He says tonight's show is going to be strictly dedicated to the memory of Chris, Nancy, and I don't know the little boy's name.
David Benoit. Okay, that was Monday Night Raw when they did the tribute show, yes.
Okay, they did a tribute show, so the following night...
Which was an ECW Tuesday show when he changed it.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was an ECW when WWE was doing their ECW thing. So it was ECW night. He came out.
I don't remember. He came out and said tonight is going to be a tribute to Chris Benoit and his family. And he ran the whole show, and it was a great show, but the next day he had to come out, and I don't know if he obviously had to make a statement because he really jumped the gun on that without knowing all the details. That's the way Vince is. I'm going to take advantage of this situation and put some more money in the bank.
Oh, gotcha. So that's what you think. Okay. Because clearly they didn't know all the facts for them to come out with that show, and then just 24 hours later, they changed it. They said they're never going to mention the name again. You think they would did a little more research, or I don't know, just something didn't happen?
Even before you do the show. Chris was diagnosed. They did the autopsy, and he had the brain damage. He had the brain of an 80-year-old man, and something like that. Or even older. But I think it was that he had the brain of an 80-year-old man, and
may have had Alzheimer's too. I think they said.
I think so. Yeah. Anything is possible, but definitely the brain of an 80-year-old man. So, talk about wrestling being fake, huh?
Right. That's about as real as it gets.
So, yeah, it doesn't get more real.
Yeah, it does not. So you brought up your last match when you had your injury. That actually was against Wrath. I watched this match 3 times. You looked injured.
Did you watch it? Oh, you got to send me the link.
Yeah, I'll send you the link right after the interview. I watched it 3 times. You had, I believe, a shoulder injury and a leg injury, so I couldn't tell what was real and what was not because you're really good at selling things.
No, I apologize for cutting in. But
you're fine.
It was actually a neck injury. What he did, he went to do a side slam or a side backbreaker. And when he picked me up, and from there, I thought we were going straight down. But he picked me up and then kind of hoisted me a little bit more, maybe about 6 inches more, so he can get a better grip on me. And when he hoisted me, my neck kind of went boom, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And when he dropped me, my neck, usually in wrestling, you're taught when your feet leave the ground, you tuck your chin to your chest.
Right.
Well, when he first brought me up, I thought we were going down. But then he jiggled me up again, and my neck kind of went out of sorts. And then he went right down, and my neck wasn't in the right spot, so I hit the back of my head. And not only that, but, shook my head around pretty good. My neck around pretty good. So it was a neck injury.
Okay, so you're talking about the sidewalk slam. It was not his meltdown, the pump handle slam.
No, it was a sidewalk slam.
Okay, so what happened after that, though, is it looked like, I think the announcers were saying you had a leg injury, and you sold the leg injury very well, too. So I kept watching it. I'm like, where did he hurt his neck at? Because that's definitely what it said.
Yeah, I was selling the leg.
Yeah.
I was selling the leg. I don't know what he did. That's why I'd have to see it. It'd be wonderful. It'd be wonderful to see. I remember where it was. I was with my wife now, and I had to drive from Orlando to Miami and Miami to Orlando. But there was American Airlines Arena in Miami. Yep, and that was pretty much my last match. And last time I saw, what's his name? Mike? Is it Mike or Mark or?
You're talking about Wrath? Brian.
Brian.
Brian
Yeah,
Clark.
Brian Clark. Well, who's the other Brian then?
Brian
Adams.
So are you talking about Crush? Brian Adams?
Crush, yeah.
Yeah.
Brian Adams, yeah, he passed away.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, that was my last match with Wrath, and last time I saw him, I told him, and he apologized to me. I said, well, we're kind of late on that now.
Oh, that's the first time.
What's that?
That was the first time he brought it up, was somewhat recently?
Yeah, I said, there he is, the guy, is at one of these conventions or something, and I said, there's a guy who put me out of the wrestling business. He goes, what are you talking about, Jim? I said, you don't remember the night I hurt my neck in Miami? He goes, no, did I really? I says, yeah, absolutely, which is why I'm doing conventions now. But
how would he not know that?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
That might be more on WCW's fault than his for not knowing. I don't know. But.
Well, what are you going to do anyway? You know what I mean? That's the nature of the business. That's the chance you take. I see these kids now doing what they're doing, and I'm going, oh my God, that the champion, the girl, forget her name, she doesn't do some of the stuff, the gymnastics champion, the black girl.
Okay.
I forget her name, but
I know exactly what you're talking about. It'll come to me.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about, yes.
She doesn't do a fraction of what some of these guys are doing in the ring now. It was nice to see AEW had a couple big guys wrestling. Was it last week, I think? Ward I don't know his name. He first started out as a bodyguard and then turned into wrestler. But anyway,
gotcha.
I have a tendency to go on a rant here, and I can feel it. So
you're fine.
Yeah, no, but Brian Adams, that was my last match. I'm sorry, Brian Clark. Brian Clark, and last I heard when I saw him, he was doing security out in Arizona or Vegas. I think it was, for some reason it was at the casinos in Arizona.
Okay.
He was in charge of security.
So long story short, he botched the move. It was just a timing issue, or?
It was a timing. It was a timing. I doubt very much he had intentions of
I'm sure he didn't, yeah.
Yeah, no. We got along very well. But, the wrestling business, people will say to me, you have any friends in the wrestling business? I said, very few. Don Morocco, Tito Santana. Tito lives down the road, not down, about 30, 40 miles from me.
Okay.
Don's in Hawaii, of course. So we spent one day, I had 4 hours worth of conversations with the two of them, But I used to see Don on Facebook, but Facebook being what it is, I deleted my account.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so you want, anyone wants me, get me through Messenger.
Okay, still on Messenger. Okay.
Yeah, I did the Messenger, but yeah, that's about it. I mean, I miss, sometimes you sit around and especially times being what they are right now, and you wallow in your own self-pity, and you go, it could be worse, and that's where I got to stand in front of the mirror and talk to myself. I may sound crazy to people who listen to this, but I talk myself into a fever pitch where the next thing you know, I've brushed my teeth, I've showered, I've gotten out of the house, and I'm either walking or driving somewhere. I mean, yesterday I had to go to the chiropractor, a good friend of mine, and I said, wow, I haven't been up this way in a long time. I said, I had a hard time finding his office house, but found you just got to get out. You got to get out. You got to move. You got to move. The more you move, the more you want to move. The less you move, the more sedentary you're going to be, and that's when injuries, and I'm a perfect example of it, that's when injuries set in. Everything tightens up. Mm-hmm. And that's what's been going on with me lately, especially with my back,
Yeah.
But
yeah, you're telling me you just blew your back out, so I mean, I can speak on all the fans' behalf. I'm sure everybody hopes you get well soon, and that all goes well.
Yeah, well, real thank you. Tell them, from me, I appreciate their concern, and I love them all. I love them all. Listen, if they cheered for me, they cheered for me. If they cheered for me, they cheered for me. But I had their attention for a little bit of, even these days, if I don't watch it too much anymore, the wrestling, I'll watch some of the old stuff. But you've got somebody's attention for X amount of time, whether it be 10 minutes, whether it be 30 minutes, whatever it is. You've got their attention. You're entertaining them. You did for that. You're doing for them what they did for you when you were a kid. When I was younger, I grew up in Washington Heights in New York, and my uncle, who was like a father to me, he would take me to Madison Square Garden, where I would see Bruno Sammartino, Pedro Morales, Ivan Koloff. I mean, I think when Ivan Koloff beat Bruno, the whole building went silent. It's just hear a pin drop. But that's a match I'd love to watch too.
Sure.
But I'm not so technologically sound where I could find these things.
I'll send you some links after the interview, including your match with Wrath. So, am I safe in saying that you like WCW more than WWE? Your time wrestling?
Absolutely.
You said definitely?
Absolutely! Exclamation.
Excellent.
Exclamation. I mean, I'm sure I've told you the story about the sexual harassment.
Oh yeah, that's in part 1.
Yeah.
Crazy story. I never knew that. I'm sorry that happened to you.
There's a lot of stuff. Yeah, well, thank you. There's a lot of stuff that that people don't know or aren't aware of. They'll say, "Well, why didn't they do something more with you? Why didn't they do? I mean, you were a good-looking guy. You had all the muscles. This, that, and they crank it up. Girls in cars, blah blah blah. Which I wasn't crazy for that song, but it was Jimmy Hart's, and there was something that I didn't know about that whole storyline with Mr. T and all. I'm sure I said it in part 1, so I don't want to repeat myself. But yeah, there was something going on that apparently Paul wasn't aware of, but I wasn't, because I didn't get invited to Pat Patterson's picnic.
Oh no! Right.
Yeah. There's a backyard barbecue I'm not going to.
Not invited. The interview is called Off the Radar. We really like to dive into some off the radar material I feel the media doesn't cover at all, or just not very well. You gave me great information, but for you, I want to end everything off with... I'm sorry, were you about to say something?
Yeah, can you repeat what the interview is called?
So we call the interview segment Off the Radar because we like to get into off the radar material I feel like the media doesn't cover very well over the years.
Very good.
Okay, so you've already given me a ton of excellent material, by the way. But for yourself, I want to get into a gentleman who came in with a crazy push. You actually were a tag team partner of his. You had many matches against him. You had the vignette on the beach where you guys took your shirt off. Again, had a huge push. Then, unfortunately, it ended tragically when he took his life. What can you tell me about the man, the Renegade?
The last time I saw him, I think his real name was Ricky or something. Or
Rick Wilson.
Rick Wilson. We called him Rio for some reason. I don't know. We were my wife was there too. I had just met her, and we were at a table at, it was a hotel, it was a bar attached to a hotel, and he was there. We were having drinks, hanging out, nice guy, but they gave him too much too soon. Can you fill the Ultimate Warrior's shoes? No, you can't. So, maybe financially he was taken care of. I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
Because he left his wife behind. But he lived in Atlanta, and my understanding is he got into like I said, the last time I saw him was in a hotel bar, and there was a bunch of us there with girls and my wife and me and, whatever. And he was at the table or floating around the bar. And matter of fact, I had gotten a call to go to the bar because I was getting a call from my wife at the time from New Jersey, wanting to know what how did everything go on. Yeah, exactly. Which is why she's my ex-wife now. But we get along wonderfully, and she gets along with my wife. So last time I saw Ricky or Rio, I believe we called him Rio. And he was at that bar floating around, and the next day he was going up to Georgia, flying up to Georgia. And a couple days later he was dead. And it wasn't what people think, that it was a suicide. My understanding was he was arguing with his girlfriend or wife, and he had a gun in his hand. You don't think I'll do it? You don't think I'll do it? You don't think I'll do it?
Oh.
And turned the gun on himself. Didn't mean to, but the trigger went off. During the heat of the argument, the trigger went off. Yeah, that's what it was. He didn't sit in a corner with a gun and put it in his mouth or anything like that. In the heat of an argument, and again, it's rumor, but if you hear it enough times, there has to be some validity to it.
Mm-hmm.
So he went back to Georgia. A couple of days later, we find out that he had passed away, that he had killed himself. But my understanding, again, from enough people, was that he was arguing with his wife, grabbed a gun to threaten her that he was going to kill himself. And maybe, like I said, in the heat of an argument, you may have squeezed the trigger and boom, that was it. I think it was more about, I wasn't there, only God was. I think it was more about scaring her than it was about him being depressed and taking his own life.
Okay.
And the accident happened, and that was it. And the next day after he got home, we all heard about it, and it was because he was a sweetheart of a man. But you can't fill the ultimate warrior's shoes. I mean, there are certain shoes that cannot. I mean, it's just, and it's sad. Another sad thing was, like Benoit. Same, the Benoit was a different thing. That was deliberate.
Yeah.
And what was going through Chris's head, we'll never know. But what was going through Rio's head or Ricky's head was that he was arguing with his wife or girlfriend, had a gun in his hand, and apparently had his finger on the trigger. He's, and threatening her like, "Don't you think I'll do it? I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it." It's one of those husband-wife, boyfriend-girlfriend things,
right?
And you're trying to get their attention or whatever it is you're trying to get out of them, and boom, trigger went off, and that was it.
Holy cow!
We lost it. Yeah.
That's how bad the story's been covered, because I've never heard that version of it, but that makes a little more sense.
Yeah, it's not like he went home depressed. He was fine.
You saw him 2 days earlier. How was his demeanor that day?
2 days earlier, absolutely. 2 days earlier, we saw him. He was hanging out at the bar, having some drinks, and socializing with the people at the table, with all of us. And 2 days later, he they said he committed suicide.
Wow.
Well, no, like I said, if you
accidentally shot himself, basically, is what you're saying.
Accidentally shot himself, threatening his wife that he was going to kill himself if she didn't. Whatever. Maybe she wanted to leave him. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, accidentally shot himself.
And he was already released from WCW at the time, correct? So you saw him outside of wrestling.
No, I don't know. I don't think he was released.
Okay.
No,
for some reason, I thought it said online that he was released. No problem. That's neither here or there.
No, I don't see where. Unless that was something that was never told, or unless no, it wasn't that he got released and he went home and killed himself. No, that wasn't it at all. No.
Okay.
I mean, there's a percentage there that I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
Sure.
So if he got released, he would have surfaced somewhere else.
Right.
Wrestling.
Yeah, you would think he definitely had a great look, and he definitely did have some talent, regardless of what you want to say about him.
Yeah, he was not Ultimate Warrior. That's like there'll never be another Hulk Hogan. There'll never be a Muhammad Ali. There'll never be. There'll never be a Babe Ruth. And go on and on and on and on and on. There'll never be a Kobe. So no, he to the best of my knowledge, and it wasn't in the room.
Right.
But to the best of my knowledge, and I've heard it quite a few times, which means there's got to be some validity to it. I know I say that a lot.
Sure.
But he went home, got into an argument with his girl, whether it was his wife or what, and took the gun and threatened to kill himself. And as he was arguing, which we all do if we have a spouse, we argue, and he had a gun in it, and he was threatening to shoot himself. I believe he shot himself in the chest. I don't know. But that's irrelevant. He's gone.
Wow.
2 days later, we heard he died. He died. He killed himself. But yeah, that's that story there.
Just an absolute tragic story, regardless of how you look at it. Really too bad. So
yeah, I was.
Good.
Yeah, no, I was looking through. I get these little pop-ups on my phone about wrestling, about how many wrestlers have actually killed somebody in the ring.
Okay.
You know, I never knew the heart punch was a shoot. Ox Baker killed a guy or two.
Yeah.
Using the heart punch. You ever hear of that?
I can't remember the wrestler, but I know it did happen a number of years ago. Yes.
Yeah. Ox Baker. Yeah. Scott Hall killed a guy at the Dollhouse in Orlando. You know.
That was with a gun. Yeah. I think he was working security.
Yeah. Anyhow.
But,
all right.
Yeah. So before I let you go, Jim, I appreciate everything. Do you have a way where fans can contact you? You brought up Facebook Messenger. Are you still taking bookings?
The only bookings I will take are, I will take are the conventions, signings, things like that. You know, obviously I'm not going to wrestle in the ring again.
Right.
But I would love to get myself healed up and kind of help train some of the kids, you know, like Arn is doing, DDP's doing. They're out there with that AEW company, which I really do. I think they're doing a wonderful job, a hell of a job. Unfortunately, Florida's become a hotbed for both Vince and AEW. But I like some reason I gravitate towards the AEW when I watch it. You know, I don't think I've ever seen a full episode of NXT.
Gotcha.
You know.
So you would be willing to work for AEW or somewhere as a trainer, and you still do signings for appearances, correct?
Well, I do signing for appearances, signing at the appearances, and if when and if my shoulder gets healed, I will. I would not mind at all working for a company like AEW. I'm not going to. Working with the younger talent, learning what the business is like now, and starting fresh but in a different capacity. I would like that, and I get along with all those guys. I get along with Benoit. I remember when Benoit first came to WCW, and it was Benoit, it was Eddie, it was Chavito, Eddie's nephew, and. Trying to think who the other one. Well, Chris Benoit. You know.
Sure.
So I would be open for that. But
how can people contact you? Even if, say, a fan wants to follow your career, is there any social media or websites or anything? I mean, no problem. I was just going to put it out there if there was.
Why don't you put it out there, and why don't they contact you, and you contact me, and I'll you know what? I'll put my address out there, and if they want to send me a letter or a picture to be signed, something like that.
I can just put in the link if you're, instead of putting it over the air, I can put in the link if anybody wants to reach out to Jim Powers. We can figure something out, and then you can contact them, or they can contact you, and then you can figure something out.
I don't want my phone being out so much, but they can reach me through, obviously, the United States Postal Service at my address, which I think you know.
Okay, excellent.
You know my address, right?
I do, yes.
Yeah, you should. Okay, you can put it out there through that if they want to reach me, they can reach me old school. They can sit down and write a little postcard, and if they have a picture or they want to purchase a picture or something like that, I'll have to reproduce some. They can send me a self-addressed stamped envelope, and I don't know, I'll figure out what the cost of a picture is these
Excellent.
days.
Yeah.
You know, and if somebody's really loves the business, appreciates what I did, I have no problem. And I have some DVDs around here that I got to clean up my office, and if I find them, I have a limited amount of DVDs that I had done with another company years ago. No sense mentioning the company's name.
Right. No problem. So I can put in the link. Any Jim Powers fans listening to this that want to contact him, they can just put a comment or message me. We can figure it out from there. Also, we are in works of getting you a T-shirt out there, so hopefully that comes out sooner than later. So.
Oh, wonderful. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, but all right, Jim, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Take care, Jim.
Take care.
Yeah.